2020. Jennifer, if you could let everybody in who's in the waiting room.
Yep, they're on their way in now.
Okay, and let me know who they are.
I need to mute everybody as they come in.
Sure, I'm muted.
I don't know who that is.
Whoever Max is needs to be muted, yeah.
Paul, I think you can unmute yourself. Just, you have permission, I think, to unmute yourself.
There it is. How's that?
Good.
Now I'm muted. Good.
Yep.
Okay. Let's begin. Minutes from the previous meetings. October 21st. Any admissions, corrections?
None here.
I had none. I had none, except that, and I know Tiger's on, but we didn't ask for white barriers on that pedestrian walkway, which we'll talk about later, but it just, you know, we were all in favor of that in those no parking areas on Elm Street, okay? So all those in favor of accepting those minutes? Aye. Any opposed?
Motion made.
Second?
Aye.
Aye.
Or aye, okay. Special meeting of November 7th. I had no corrections there either. Motion to accept,
So moved.
Gava. Second,
Yep.
all those in favor, aye. Okay, good.
Aye.
And then the special meeting for November 5th, that short meeting, I had no corrections on that either. So motion to approve all three then,
So moved.
Jim? Okay, second,
Aye.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, get that out of the way, that's done. Chief, you want to just go through the monthly reports?
So first report is our budget. We are at 30.60 versus we should be at 33.3. So we're in good shape there. We're a little bit under budget. So no real concerns there. Animal control budget's in good shape as well, 28%. Should be at 33, so that's good.
Good.
Next report I'm looking at is monthly statistics. I'll just highlight some incidents. So family disputes, 38 so far this year versus 42 last year. Larceny from vehicles, 40 this year so far versus 17 last year. That's a substantial increase. Motor vehicle accident property damage, 195 versus 336. That's a big drop, likely due to the decreased traffic during COVID. And then 22 injury accidents versus 38. Once again, likely due to less traffic due to COVID. Psychiatric problems, 43 versus 30. That's a pretty decent increase. And stolen vehicles, 23 versus 9. Once again, that's a substantial increase. And I'm hoping that people get the message and lock their cars, remove all valuables, and don't leave their keys in their cars, because it's epidemic of sorts in Fairfield County. So we're actually getting groups from out of state coming into New Canaan. We had a car recovered in Newark, New Jersey, which is unusual. So there's 3 different gangs that are working in Greenwich, and it seems like there's at least 2 or more working in New Canaan because of that connection to New Jersey. But typically they're from the cities in Connecticut, but it's unusual seeing people coming from New Jersey to steal cars here. So that's kind of concerning. Next report I have is our staffing report. We're in good shape staffing. We only had 21% lost time, 21.28 versus 73.16. Previous year, 2019, same month. and 42.10 October 2018. So substantial decrease in lost time. And we also are at staffing well. Only 48% of the time we were at a minimum shift versus 83% last year, same month, and 74% in 2018, same month. So that's all good news staffing wise. And all of our training officers have completed field training right at this moment. So we're at a full complement of 47. We have 2 officers that are the SROs at the high school and the junior high school. So that certainly affects our staffing to some degree, but overall, we're in very good shape staffing wise. Next report I have is our extra duty aging. Note that 61 or older is about $331,000. So that's a pretty substantial amount of money. So I did contact our CFO to take a look at that, and I'm waiting for some follow-up on that. And alarm aging report over 120 is more than $10,000, $10,750. So that's, once again, a substantial amount of money. I don't know if that'll ever be collected given how old it is, but I did connect with our CFO, and I'm waiting for a reply back.
Great, okay. Yeah, it's on that, Eversource is the biggest one right there on the age, on the aging.
Yes.
He's aware. Okay.
On the car thefts, Chief, some months back, our officers arrested 3 suspects who were attempting to steal cars in New Canaan. They ran them
that's right.
down. They arrested 3 of them. 2 of them were, I think, about 18. One of them was older. Do you know what happened to those people?
I don't know specifically what happened with those cases, but it's rare for these folks to go to jail, and usually they'll get released, and it's kind of a revolving door. Lots of times they get arrested multiple times. I've heard of cases where people have been arrested dozens of times and still aren't in jail. So, you know, it's a property crime. Reality is it's not a violent crime. Violent crimes, typically you see people go to jail for some period of time, but this is a property crime, and it's an easy one because our residents are leaving their cars unlocked and keys in them, and the kids are coming here more or less using them for joyrides. In some instances, they're using them to commit other crimes, sometimes violent. So that's certainly concerning, but typically they get released pretty quickly after being arrested.
So what's the downside to the criminal?
There's none.
So
I
should
think
we ask the prosecutors to take a harder line so that people are discouraged from this?
yeah, I mean, that message has been passed along multiple times, and I think it's a weakness of our criminal justice system in some respects, because right now, certainly COVID court cases are overwhelmed. The courts are overwhelmed because of the backlog of cases, and they're certainly prioritizing violent cases, which there's a fair number of in our state. So this happens to be lower on the scale. And I think if you recall back several years ago, the governor decriminalized or actually made a lot of offenses juvenile, 16 and 17-year-olds, whereas years ago it was an adult offense. So it was a more punitive process, and for lots of good reasons. But now even 16 and 17-year-olds are treated as juveniles. So typically the juvenile courts are more, I guess, palliative than punishing. And you'll see juveniles arrested dozens of times before ultimately they become adults and commit multiple crimes, and then see an arrest that will lead to some kind of intervention of some sort.
Okay. Anything else on that? Okay. Let's go to topics for discussion. Topic number 1 is the roadway modifications for outdoor dining extension. Tucker, you're involved here, right?
Yep, I'm here. Hi.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you.
So what's
all.
up?
Well, thank you, first of all, last week for having that special meeting to allow us to get to this week. That turned out to be a nice decision because we had some great weather in there, which we want to do everything we can to support these businesses. I think we have on the call Laura, who you know is the director at the chamber. I think we've got a couple of the restaurateurs who have also joined us as per your suggestion.
Good.
What we are trying to do, and this is no news to you all, and Jen, who's on the call, Tiger, myself, John DiFederico, Kevin's been joining us. I don't think I missed anybody. Of course, Laura. We've been meeting regularly to resolve how we're going to handle this going forward. Some of you may have been reading about what are the other towns, big article in Stamford Advocate last week about all the other towns and how they're handling it. And it's obviously a weather-related issue. So what we're proposing tonight is, because it's sort of a race to the finish to save, to make sure that these restaurants can have as much business as possible. And as part of that, we've had to do a long, hard look at, what are the challenges, which we know are clearly mostly weather related. Tiger and Moe's are on the call. Obviously this falls on their lap, much of it. So we had to make sure that they were okay with the situation. And what we would like to propose to you all tonight is that and this is, by the way, Kevin was on a Zoom call today with the other first selectmen in our neighboring towns, and they were sharing a lot of information about what they're doing on different areas related to COVID. And obviously the dining was something that they all spoke about. And this seems to be the approach that the other towns are taking, in that we would like to leave everything as is for now. Through probably the end of the year. The likelihood of us getting a significant snowfall during that time is slim. It's definitely possible, but it's slim. If we do find that there is snow in the forecast, and Moe's has a pretty decent weather prediction system that he uses, I guess. So if we find that they start readying the trucks with plows and salt and things like that, we will then send a notification out to all of the restaurants telling them that they must take their furniture inside, off the sidewalk, and keep it in until we give them the all clear. And what the all clear would mean that, as you all know, the ordinance right now requires property owners to clear the sidewalk in front of their space. So that would mean that they were still required to do that. And in fact, the barriers would remain up. So they would be required to clear even the pedestrian pathway, because as we see it, this is an extension of the sidewalk as it is today, because we've given them the sidewalk for their business. So therefore we had to create a new sidewalk. Once we tell them that they can resume, bring tables out and that kind of thing, then they can do that. The trick or the challenge is going to be, Moses' crew has got to come through and decide whether or not they can plow with the barricades up, remaining up. They've talked about filling them a little bit more with some water to make them heavier, or putting sand in them. He seems to think, and I'll let him speak if you'd like, but that he could move them if he needed to do a full removal and put them back. They're pretty easy to move. So that's basically the plan as it stands right now. As I think Jen can tell you, these rules are changing daily. Things are happening in real time. And so if anything did change drastically one way or the other, we would want to be able to react appropriately and have you as part of that conversation. But we feel right now that we might be able to allow these restaurants. It's 12 restaurants actually that are affected. If we were to take the barriers off the streets, and there are 12 restaurants, that's a significant amount. The restaurants that we're not worried about are the ones like the Cherry Street East that have their own parking lot, and they can do what they do as long as Jen, approves of whatever they're doing. But we just feel that it's really important that we support them as much as we can. And this was our way of hopefully being able to do that. We would also, the rules would be hard, fast, and that we would articulate them and let them know. And if anybody, fails to clear the sidewalk properly, their permit is revoked, and they're told that they've now lost the privilege and everything needs to come inside. We're going to be very, very clear on what the expectations are and what the penalties are for not complying.
Who's issuing that notification, Tucker?
So we will write it, the group that's been meeting will put these terms together, if you will. We can send them out from the town. Laura can help us get them out to everybody. I mean, certainly the ordinance is one that's an ordinance, so that's easy to pass along. And the other thing, Jen and I met today, and this is an important piece of it, is there's definitely some confusion on the sector rules and what the capacity levels are and that kind of thing. We're back to 2.1, which means that they can have no more than 50% capacity inside and out. Some have thought that they can do 50% outside and 50% inside, but that's a total number of 50%. So we're going to clarify those numbers with all of them. We think some of them may not be fully aware of what that number is, and make sure that, and that's going to come from me, from the town side.
Okay. Is anybody else on from the restaurants?
I see Luke from the Elm. I thought I saw White Buffalo. Patty Blank, is that you, Patricia's iPhone? I'm not sure. I don't know if they can unmute themselves, Jen, or if they have to.
Hello?
Yes, that's me. I'm
Okay.
here.
So that's Patty from Le Pen Quotidien.
Yes.
Yeah, Luke's here from Elm too.
Okay.
You all have anything
Um,
to add? Oh, Pressburger just named himself Pressburger.
All right. Hey, Luke, any additional thoughts here?
No, I mean, I think that's anything helps at this point for us. And I think we had looked into the idea of having some sort of enclosure. But at this point in the game, I don't know if that makes sense. And obviously that's not something that could be removed if there was snow. So I don't think that fits into the overall plan. But, if we were able to just have even if it's a couple tables on one or two of these nice days, if they happen, I mean, it all makes a difference, especially in the fourth quarter when we're all trying to capture the revenue that we need, to limp through, January and February and March. So, even a little bit matters.
Okay. And Patty, any thoughts there?
For us, we're not going to be doing heaters or anything like that. We may bring our things in sooner. What is the actual deadline? I'm sorry if it's changed and I missed it. I thought it was originally February 9th, but has that been changed?
No, the executive order is that outdoor dining is permissible through February 9th, but that doesn't mean that we have to allow it on our sidewalks. It just means that we have to allow for outdoor dining. Jen, am I explaining that properly?
Yeah, so like a Cherry Street that has their own parking lot, they get it to February 9th. Ours, we created to help everybody on our property, so it's a little different. So for this, what we're trying to do for tonight's purpose is just to extend as long as possible into December, but not to go all the way to February at this point.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Laura,
Okay.
do you have anything you want to add, Laura, from the chamber's perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I guess from the chamber's perspective, the outdoor dining really is helpful for the whole downtown ecosystem because it brings so many people into town. And so we would like to see it, definitely go through, the 31st, and then we can see what happens. And I think everyone wants a safe environment in terms of COVID and in terms of snow. So we very much support continuing to allow these 12 restaurants to serve outdoors for the hardy souls. And, we want to make an effort to let people know how to interact with these restaurants, bring your own blanket, all that sort of stuff. So we feel it's very important for the whole downtown ecosystem.
And I have to mention that obviously a huge part of this is to promote the curbside pickup. That's something that these restaurants were able to pull off in February, March, and April. Hopefully it carried some of them through the tough times, but I think with the curbside, and then again, you've all been to ski areas where people do eat outside. It happens, but the nice thing that we have, the benefit that we have on Elm Street is that side of the street where the restaurants are gets great sun. Even on a cold February day, it can really warm up over there. So there's that as well. But right now we're just thinking that we'd like to continue on till December, to the end of December, if, and this would be part of the agreement, if we at any time feel we have to pull it back, pull it in, it's over, we can call it, it's over, and no questions asked.
All right. Hey, Tiger or Mose, thoughts there?
for the most first.
Can you hear me?
Always love to hear. Yeah, love to hear from Mose. Hey,
Can
bud.
you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can hear you.
So, we've always tried to do everything we can for the merchants between Thanksgiving and Christmas. I think it's a huge time for them. So I don't see why we don't try to do this. And if it doesn't work, I think you let the merchants say, you know what, I rather set up for a better takeout than outside dining now. But let's just try it.
Okay. And you could take down those barriers. If we're getting a storm, you would kind of know 2 or 3, 4 days beforehand, right? I mean, storms just don't pop up.
I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
I think
time.
That one 2 nights ago.
Most, that's
hours.
No, those kinds of storms we see. But if there's but the point is, if there's a massive snowstorm coming, a big snowstorm coming, we would see it. You know, it doesn't happen in 5 hours, right? I mean, we'd see it coming, it'd be in the Midwest, and we'd say, all right, we got 3 days to do something, make a decision, right? Usually, if there, even Superstorm Sandy, we knew was coming, a week beforehand, right? That storm we had the other night was a, fairly substantial windstorm that was in and out of here in, basically 15 minutes, but caused a lot of damage. But not a lot of rain and not a lot of certainly any snow. So if you have that kind of notice, you could get these barriers out of there and be prepared, right? Because you got to
I
put
think I
plows
can.
on trucks. I mean, there's a number of things you got to do. You got to put plows on trucks, you got to put sand on trucks, you got to do all that scrambling around. And then you got to do this too. So does that add too much burden to your
That
crews?
gets, so any time it's predicted 30% or better,
Okay,
we are ready to go. And then I'll decide if I'm gonna bring in a 1 or 2 guys, or I'm gonna bring in a whole crew, or what I'm gonna do. So if we think it's going to be, it's time to move the barricades, or, listen, I've never done this, but they are plastic barricades. And they
Right.
probably slide very easy in the snow. So if I gotta get a loader and push them into the center of the road and plow the right side and then push them back and plow the left side, it's not rocket science. And if it gets too hard, I'll say, hey, time out. We gotta figure this out.
okay. All right, Tiger?
I would agree with Mose. We, like he said, we, especially through the holiday, we try to do everything we can. It snows, and if it's appreciable, we come in and, of a night, remove it all. So our thought is, why wouldn't we give them a go and see if, our weather window can extend a little bit, and then we'll go. And if it starts to close in on us, then we'll just let everybody know it closes in. And our opinion is that at that point, if it closes in on everybody, they're not going to really necessarily want to be sitting outside anyways,
That's
so, but our feeling is, yeah, we can,
okay.
go forward and give it a shot.
My
Okay,
only
Jen?
problem is I'm
Sorry.
gonna make a call saying, listen, we gotta get these things out of here, and it's gonna be beautiful next day, and everybody's gonna say what a jerk he is, but
You're like the
I've been doing it.
superintendent.
So it's not a problem.
Well, Mose,
Kevin,
you got thick skin, Mose. It's okay.
Kevin is
I think
trying,
the
Kevin's
restaurant-
having technical
I think the
difficulties.
restaurant- I mean, the bad thing would be the restaurants Thanksgiving Day are ready to go, and there's a forecast for a 50% chance of snow. And we said, listen, you got to get these things out. And then
Right. But that's just,
everybody's mad, but everybody knows.
it's kind of be the way it is. Again, I think all of us are certainly supportive of all the restaurants as well as the merchants, but we also have to do public safety too. So taking all those in mind, those 3 factors, I think we can come to a solution here. Jen, any other health thoughts here?
The only thing is, obviously, this is all subject to change. With anything changing with the governor
With-
or locally or whatever, and like Tucker said, the good part about this is, if the governor does change and we go to lockdown 1.2 or whatever he wants to call it, and they have to switch back to curbside, we do have to be able to make that adjustment too, to make sure that we don't impede them and, get the barriers out.
Okay. Because how we are going to have, we're going to get into January, February, March, right? So I would envision that the barriers are down by then. everybody sort of packed it up and is sort of either limited sidewalk service, because look, it's going to be 10 degrees, 20 degrees, 15 degrees, 3 below, whatever. I don't suspect a lot of people are going to want to be sitting out there. But I'm not going to force anybody inside either, right? I don't think that's, if somebody wants to sit outside and it's 5 degrees, knock yourself out. But if there is snow coming, which I think there will be, and we have to take the barriers down, I'd like to have sort of a plan B. And the plan B, in my mind, would be having some kind of more of a takeout lane, okay, where the barriers are now, where if we could make sure to, because we want to promote more takeout in town, make it as easy as possible for everybody to have takeout, every restaurant to provide takeout and every resident to get takeout. And if we could reserve those spots where we remove the barriers, either on Elm or on Forest, or like in front of Spiga, put up a no parking sign there from like 5 o'clock on till closing, so that we could have people pull up on Elm on the right-hand side and on Forest on the left-hand side, and have a number of easily accessible pickup, takeout spaces there. So when the barriers come down, we don't just just throw in parking there and then clog that all up.
Yeah.
I think that would promote more takeout than not. And I'd like just comments on that, if that makes any sense at all.
We talked quite a bit about that at our meeting yesterday, and
Okay.
Lynn Brooks-Ovney, the town planner, was on the call, and she was promoting that as well. And I
good.
think it's definitely something that should be considered. I just think that we have some merchants that also want quick curbside pickup spots, because they've got, people that don't want to come into the store, and so they want to be able just to run out. I think the abuse of that, though, is going to become a little bit of a problem. If you put 15 minutes for just restaurant only, who's to say that I'm not just going to pull in and go to Franco's and pick up my bottle of wine and come back out when I should have just been parking in a regular spot? So I think we'd have to think about how we articulated that and how we managed it and enforced it. Would people have to still stay in their car? In other words, would it be just standing only for a quick pickup, or could you actually leave your vehicle? As you know, we have enough problems as it is with everyone double parking in some of those areas where they go in and get a coffee cup. But this is something that we should definitely be talking about over the next few weeks.
Okay, yeah, this is something,
I
more of a
think
plan.
it would be great.
Yep.
And I
I'm
would
sorry.
think it would be sort of after 5 o'clock, or 5:30, so that, merchants are kind of closed by 6, but, but maybe they're open more for Christmas shopping too. I don't know. But again,
Well, lunch is a big thing too. If we really shut down, we have a lot of daytime eating, and, I think some of the pickup will continue and curbside. So, and it's makes a complicated situation even worse, but I like the idea of keeping that side, available for pickup and maybe a standing zone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
can anyone
We
hear
have no,
me?
we have
Yes,
no
we can
loading.
hear you, Patty.
Okay, I was just gonna say, because we're not open at night, but we are open, at 7:30 in the morning till 4. And that would be a great idea in my mind, and I know there are logistical things about it, to be able to have that lane open just for people to pull inside, pull in for curbside and orders. Obviously not takeout. I guess people would really have to park if they were going to do a takeout order. But like for curbside, if someone wanted to do curbside and stay in their car, that would be great.
Okay,
I
because
mean, I have people that come by for catering, and I literally, they have to park, and then we have to walk
that's right.
away to go and
on-
bring catering and stuff out, because you can't park anymore in the front there. But those kinds of things would be great if there is a way to work it out.
Okay, because right now we've lost those spaces, but if we could make those just 15-minute pickup only spaces, I think that would help you. It would help merchants. It would help a Franco's too, I think, if it's during the day. But we may not
A lot
solve.
of the customers seem very, very leery about coming inside, and giving them that option now would be great. I mean, I still have customers that come inside anyway, no matter what. But
Okay.
I'm hearing more conversation from the customers saying it's all starting to make them nervous.
Sure.
And I was wondering how that works when all the kids come home from college and what kind of quarantines are going to go on with, you know, kids coming from Florida and then what happens to their families in terms of quarantining and not being able to come out. So
Right.
curbside would be great.
Hey, Paul, I have a couple of questions.
Yep.
Tucker, so what we're proposing is outdoor dining as it stands right now, no tents, no igloos, none of that. Right?
Correct.
Right.
Trying to start another meeting, town council meetings, having trouble. Yes, we know Jen is not a fan of tents and most of us are not, and no one's really asked for them. So we think that would hold, yes.
Okay. And then Jen, so, given the state's at a little over 6% positive, obviously if the state goes to phase 1, that's going to shut down all dining. It's just going to be takeout. And if we did see some kind of connection with positive cases being traced back to outdoor dining, then we would have to revisit this.
Correct. And it's all subject to change with anything, with the governor's orders, if he goes down in restrictions. And that's why I think it's important to keep thinking of the plan for curbside pickup
Right.
and having those pickup points, as John and Lynn had discussed before too.
Okay, so why don't we take this in two pieces then? One would be to just extend what we have today out until, pick a date, December 31, December 21, and just leave it as is, all right? And then we'll be flexible so that and that's assuming that the barriers are all still up. When the barriers come down, then I would like to see some kind of help for the restaurants and the merchants so that we have a clearer pickup lane or takeout lane, 15-minute, 10-minute, 5-minute lane. Because right now, when you see it, if somebody pulls up to Elm, and I'll use Luke, I'm sorry, I'll use you as an example. They pull up to Elm, they sit there in the right lane, they get out of their car, they open their door into the left lane. So now both lanes of Elm Street are kind of locked, right? They go in, they climb over the barrier, get their food, come back out, get back in the car and go. They just put their flashers on and go, is basically what happens now, which is kind of fine because it's, 6 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock at night, there isn't that much traffic anyway. But it's not an ideal situation, especially when you get ice and snow and stuff. So if you could get that traffic over to the right-hand side, right against the sidewalk, I think that would be a big help for traffic flow and just for safety. And the same thing for Forest Street. Right now, Forest Street, if you get two people pull up to Cava, one person gets out, goes to pick up the food, the driver circles the block and comes back, picks them up, and it just clogs up the whole system. If there's a lane there where the barriers are now, I think that just relieves some of that.
Paul, you're absolutely right. And it's actually happening to some extent on Elm Street now. The spaces that we've lost in the crosswalk, like in front of Ann Taylor, those have become sort of de facto pull up and pull over to the side. There's no barriers there. And they pulled over and called in to wherever they are. And I know that there's a couple of the stores there have been using those spots for that purpose.
Okay, so in order to move this along, why don't we have a motion then to keep in place the current structure until, and we can pick a date. Jim, do you care? Shkeba, you care?
I would say the
either to our-
31st, because I think for some of the restaurants, they do a lot of business right around the holidays of Christmas and so on. So I would say take it through the 31st. And I think, Tucker, that's what you had discussed with your group, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Definitely past Christmas.
Shkeba, you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. So then Jennifer, the motion would be to keep in place the current
Configuration, maybe?
configuration or format, right, of the way we are doing curbside as well as outdoor dining in New Canaan until December 31st.
Okay,
But the thing is, if we have to change, snow, whatever, we've got to be able to amend this as necessary due to weather conditions. All right. If we get a big snowstorm on December 12th, we're going to have to, this goes out the window, right?
Well, it does and it doesn't. I mean, what happens if we get a big snowstorm December 12th, Mose does his thing, gets the streets cleaned up. They've taken everything inside. Now we're cleaned up. And if we've still got a couple more weeks of good weather, it can carry on. But if it certainly December 31st and beyond, then that's probably a different story. But I think if we just get one storm, Mose thinks that he can deal with it by either moving the barriers and putting them back in place or what have you. It's just if we get some repeated storms, and to your point, and that's would be part of this narrative or agreement that we send out, that this is all very contingent on weather, COVID, and the town gets the last word on this.
That's right. But yet we want to, give some certainty to the restaurants and some certainty to the merchants so that they can plan. Nobody likes that. You can't open your business and not know what the heck's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. I mean, so if we can help provide all that, which you're doing here, I think it's good. They just want a stable business environment as best we can during a pandemic.
There's
So I'd be in
a piece of me that feels as if there's a point where no one is really going to sit outside, and I don't know. My vote is that, probably sooner than December 31st. I would rather have the right lane open for curbside and takeout than patio, but I don't have heaters and things like that. So, that's certainly up to the other people, but anyone could place orders and, we can bring out to them whatever it is they want in terms of the restaurants. I know
Okay.
if people are going shopping like for clothing or gifts, that might be a whole different story, but, our menus are pretty set or specific. So anyway, that's just my thought on that.
Okay, and then again, this is all subject to change for all the reasons that have been stated. So,
Correct.
and with Zoom, gosh, we can hold a meeting, in 48 hours. So to make adjustments, unfortunately here. All right, so let's get that out of the way first. All right, and then I just want to talk about the other thing. So Jim or Shakeva, you making that motion?
Yeah, I would move that we approve the continuation of current arrangements for outdoor dining in New Canaan, subject to contingencies that may arise with regard to weather and/or state government edicts. And that we continue, subject to those caveats, we continue until December 31st.
Okay, Shakeva, second.
Right, second.
Okay, any other discussion on this? Tiger, Mose, Jen, Tucker, John, Leon? Okay, everybody happy? Let's move the motion. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right, so that carried 3-0. But Tucker, as we get into January and February, when it gets just nasty out there and people are not going to want to sit out, I'd like to get rid of the barriers and then just, so that when the snowstorms do come on a look, snowstorms can come on a fairly regular basis. They can come Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Or like last year, they didn't come at all. So
When is your December meeting?
December
Wednesday.
16th.
So why don't we come back? Why don't we
Yeah.
plan on coming back to that meeting? We'll know how we've
That's
done.
right.
And then
Yep.
we'll be planning for that. And, I agree with you. I don't see January and February being, but who knows? Global warming and all that, who knows?
Yeah, I kind of
So,
like,
and if I could
Okay.
suggest maybe Laura and Tucker and whoever else is on that committee, consult with the various restaurants and see what they think
Yeah, we
about
will.
January, February, March.
So we'll come back to your December meeting with sort of a report from restaurants, how they've done, what their hopes are for January, February, what the reality is, who knows where we'll be with COVID. And then we can make decisions post December 31.
Perfect. I'm in favor of that. Excellent. All right. Again, we want the message to be, pretty loud and clear here. We're very supportive of all the merchants and of all the restaurants, and we'll do everything that we can do to be accommodative, and as long as it's a safe and a safe process. So.
And let me just say about that, they truly are grateful. I mean, they've seen the hoops that Jen and Tiger and Moe's and the Chamber and everybody have jumped through, and you guys, so they know that we want them to survive.
Right. Look, I want it to be known that, New Canaan will work with you. We're here to promote business, promote success, not to limit it and to over-regulate
Right.
businesses and restaurants.
And they got very lucky this summer with the weather, and they're very grateful.
And who's going to communicate this decision to them?
So yeah, Laura will do it. We will write it up as the committee, and then Laura will send it out. Laura and I together can send it out from the town and the chamber as a unified message.
Okay, because as of now, what they know is that it ends as of today.
We've been communicating with them, telling them that we were having this meeting and to stay tuned, and we would let them know more. So they're waiting on, they know tonight's the night. That's why we invited some of them to join us. So we've been
Great.
communicating with them since then, since
Okay.
this started.
Okay. And again, just to emphasize, anything else we can do, because people, if COVID gets worse, no one's going to want to go to a restaurant. Really. So anything we can do to promote takeout or takeout lane or curbside service, whatever we can do, we're open to that. So, all right. Okay. I think that takes care of that. Next item is that annual review of the gift policy.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, bye. Mose, I think you want to be involved in this one, right? No.
This is Tigers, actually.
Comments on our gift policies? Jen, I know you care.
Recommending no changes
Okay.
to the existing policy.
Yeah, I reviewed the Town of New Canaan Code of Ethics. I reviewed the department's policy, Article 20, acceptance of gifts, and I reviewed the January 4th, 2013 Memorandum of Understanding, which sets out exceptions. They all look fine to me. I would recommend that we approve the existing ethics rules. So was Tucker Claus going to be on this call or something?
Okay.
Were
No,
we
no,
expecting
no,
Tucker?
he just wanted, no, the ethics committee, the town ethics committee just wanted to remind us that we should review this on an annual basis.
Okay, well, I've done that, and I
you-
think it's all well done, and I would recommend reapproving it.
Okay, I'll take that as a motion. Shakeba, second.
Approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anything? Okay, that's good. Building renovation update. Chief? Any-
So great news, as we all know, building committee's been formed by the Board of Selectmen. No meetings have been set yet. No work has been done. Hoping that happens near term. So it's certainly great news that's moving forward. It's a long process, probably be a couple of years before any work begins, but certainly thankful to the first selectman for moving it forward and everybody's support, because it's much needed and will greatly enhance the day-to-day activities of our officers as they come into a newer building or whatever that ends up being. So I'm certainly thankful for that.
Right, I think that the first selectman is going to send around an email to all of the committee members and have them to start going in and arranging times to get in and at least get a tour of what we currently have. And I did remind him today of, we've got 4 people out. So we're going to be a little
Be smart about that. Yeah.
smart about how tours are done. All right,
Right.
especially given the outbreaks over the last couple of weeks. I mean, this is just so annoying. But it's it is moving forward. So
Yeah, I'll put together, I have a pretty good summary with photos. I'll put a summary together and update it and
Yep.
make sure that's ready to distribute to everybody that's on the committee. So in lieu of an actual physical tour, they'll be able to have a photo tour that'll give them a good perspective.
Right, that'll give them a good heads up that'll at least send them, in the right directions as
Right.
to what to be looking for in terms of, good. Yeah, if you could do that, that'd be great. All right, citizen survey?
Sure. So back in October, Officer Lopez put together an electronic survey that was available to the entire town, and we received 381 responses. That's more than last year or the last time we did this survey. It's a Survey Monkey electronic survey. And just to highlight some items, the participants in the survey highlighted vehicle thefts as the most prevalent problem in New Canaan and ranked it as very serious. 56% stated assaults were not a problem in New Canaan, so that's certainly good news. 68% believe New Canaan is much safer than other communities. That's reassuring. 94% agree that New Canaan police officers have a very professional appearance. That's nice to hear. And they identified our most valuable programs as school resource officers and child safety seat installation programs. That's good news. It gives us reassurance about continuing those very valuable programs. And the top 3 priorities based on the survey were responding to emergencies, crime prevention, and service calls. And on a 1 to 5 star rating, our department was rated as 4.17. So that's pretty good, not quite a perfect rating, but good given the times we're in and I think the obstacles we face from a lot of scrutiny that, frankly, in my opinion, in our town is not well deserved because of the great job our men and women of our department do and how well they serve the town in a lot of different ways. So certainly good snapshot about the good work that everybody's doing and gives us some perspective on the community's thoughts on how well we do our job.
Great, good.
Just to go back again, car theft ranked as the #1 problem in the survey.
Sure.
And you've, I think, rightly made the point that people should not leave their keys in their car, but I'm troubled. I don't know what we could do about it, but I'm troubled by the fact that the criminal justice system seems to regard it as not really a crime, that it's quote unquote just a property crime. Well, if you have your car stolen, it's a pretty big deal. And
Right.
it should be, in my view, it should be prosecuted. We don't get to make prosecutorial decisions on this committee, but anything we can do to urge them to take it more seriously. You mentioned COVID, but I suspect this was happening before COVID. This lack of enforcement, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a continuous issue, but it's only gotten more severe during COVID because of the backlog in the court system.
Right. Okay. Well, again, I'm not sure what we can really do other than to communicate that concern, but people are getting a lot of cars stolen. It's the #1 concern in the survey, and having your car stolen is a big deal.
Right.
Anyway.
Okay. Agreed. E, Lieutenant Ferenga and Sergeant O'Sullivan. Chief, yeah,
Sure.
their probationary period's over. Yep.
Yep, they completed their 6-month probation after being promoted. They're doing really well. Recommendation is to vote that their probationary period be terminated and they become full-time Lieutenant Ferenga and Sergeant O'Sullivan. No more probation.
Okay, motion to approve that.
So
Kava?
moved.
Okay, all those in
Aye.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
Jim, you seconded it. Okay,
Okay.
good. All right, great. That's just great news.
And please give our congratulations to both Lieutenant Ferenga and Sergeant O'Sullivan.
Absolutely.
Then letters of appreciation.
Sure. First letter is from Cheshire Police Department. It's related to Sergeant LaTourette. He wrote he helped them out by riding our motorcycle in a veteran parade to celebrate several veterans who were celebrating their 100th birthdays. They were 3 World War II veterans. So thanks to them, and thanks to Sergeant Latourette for helping out with that great tribute.
Great.
Next letter is once again related to our officers assisting with a funeral. And our motorcycle unit was present there in New York, and thanks to them for that. That's all I have for that item.
Okay, good.
I would just add one thing. I thought that the chief's letter, which was in the advertiser concerning our officers that are veterans, was excellent.
Thank you.
Really, I thought that was a great letter.
Thank you.
Insight bulletins. Okay.
Your reading
Can we go
pleasure.
through this? Yep,
There'll be a quiz next meeting, so please pay attention.
I'll study. I'll take it with me. Anything else? Any other old business to discuss? I don't think so. Any other new business to discuss? Okay, then let's go into executive session. Can we go into executive session at 6:53? Motion to go into executive session?
And
Kayla?
second, Paul.
And
Um,
second,
Does
Kim?
it Mike have a question? What's the advertise? On the chat?
I think
Oh,
he's-
does he?
He might be being facetious.
I think he was
didn't see it.
Oh, okay.
I
Oh,
assume Mike,
Oh. I just saw it.
He's a wordsmith of sorts, I think.
there you
executive session at 6:57. Okay.
So moved.
approve.
Nothing else to discuss. Let's have a motion to adjourn at 6:57.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Be
you.
safe, everybody.
All those in favor?